No.
To make it authentic.
You're getting so fancy.
There you go.
So, hey guys, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and today I have an exciting guest. I've been trying to get on the podcast for a long time, and he's finally squeezed some time in. Hardworking guy, Tony Amaral.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Thank you.
So, full disclosure, Tony has thrown his hat in the ring for Theresa's district at the city council. So, a lot to talk about, a lot of exciting things happening. But first and foremost, do you know you're the first local guest I've had?
Really?
Everybody has moved here or come here for the exciting things. And how many years have you been in Palm Coast?
I have been here since January of 1983.
Exactly.
9.5 years old when I moved here.
No, I call that local.
I consider it local
Compared to
also at this
Palm
point.
Coast. So, being here as long and watching it, and also we're going to talk about your profession and everything. Bring us up to speed, Tony. Tell us a little bit about Tony and what your thoughts are. What do you do for a living? Sure. And love hearing this story.
So, like we mentioned, I've been here since 83. We're going to be going this January. I mentioned the other day, I was like, wow, it's going to be 43 years. Moved here, obviously, with my family. They started a business. I became a contractor in 1991, my first license. I was actually entering college, had to wait a month to turn 18 to take my first license. I was going to college at Embry-Riddle, Aeronautical University, and I was also collecting licenses. As of right now, I'm a licensed building contractor, a licensed roofing contractor, a licensed pool contractor, and a real estate broker. And with all that being said, I'm pretty much right off the bat, 50% of the people going, no. But at the end of the day, really, I'm a local small business owner.
Exactly.
And that's the big difference that we need to kind of,
right.
I just happen to be the person that can build you a home, put a pool on it, or even sell it for you.
Right. And, up front, it's critical for people to understand that there is a huge difference between a developer, 500 or 600 homes, mixed building use and all that, which is a conversation that's having here in Palm Coast a lot.
Yep.
That is not you, is it?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I'm a small business owner. I mean, I've got married for 20 years now. We've got 4 kids. We've got a grandson. We've got another one on the way. And I want them all here. I mean, if I'm not just a fly-by-night, I've been here. I want to stay here. My wife has been here for now 21 years, I guess. She loves it, and she just really can't see us moving anywhere else. But I also want to bring that opportunity for my children to be able to come back here and live with a job, grow a family, and afford to be here in Palm Coast. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. That's why I decided to run.
Absolutely. And that is something I think everybody that I've talked to is in full agreement that the skills and the young people that are growing up and leaving are lost opportunity of talent and a source of jobs and income and things like that. So that is a great goal to have in improving things with the city. What other thoughts or whatever efforts do you see that you think you can bring or would love to share with everyone? What is your picture of Palm Coast? How would you like it to be at the end of a term when you get elected?
Exactly. Palm Coast needs to be what it's always been envisioned. I know people always kind of are repulsed by it. We are made to be, we were designed to be, with growth included, 220 to 250,000 people from day one. We had the 44,000 original platted lots. There was also large chunks of land that were always left as reserve parcels. And ITT said, let someone else develop it. They were always going to be a gated community, a subdevelopment, something else. And I do believe that we will get there. We're having growing pains. We've had past councils that have shifted priorities away from infrastructure. And we're at the point now we just can't shift anymore. It has to come back and get us back online. It's going to be a process no matter what we do and how we do it. And it's going to be painful at first, but we do have to realize with growth, we can do it. I come here, like I said, when I was 9, 10, if you wanted to go anywhere besides a Publix, you had to go to Daytona or St. Augustine or Jacksonville. Shopping wasn't just a 10-minute drive down the road. It wasn't a 15-minute drive. It was we're going out for the day because we have to go shopping. But that only came with population increases and the fact that those population increases bring in companies and businesses that say, okay, there's a large enough population where we can thrive there and make money, and that's the goal. And at the end of the day, I think Palm Coast can still keep its hometown feel with the same process of growing, seeing it, and then, becoming what we need to become to keep going. If not, the burden to maintain all the roads and everything is just going to fall on fewer people every year under roofs and everything else, and that's where we do need to kind of move that. We do need to bring in some more business, larger businesses that will employ more people to offset the tax burdens that we have now.
I think it's something like over 90% of the source.
90-10, I believe, that's what I've been hearing lately.
Rough numbers, 90-10. Yeah. So along those lines, the 90% is from property taxes primarily.
Yeah, the bulk of it.
Right. So if you're elected and you're sitting in after November, and if our governor is successful, there's going to be a huge challenge for anyone elected after November at Palm Coast to foresee and help move the city forward with the potential changes, one of which being the possible loss of property tax as a source to invest and support the city. What are your thoughts on that? In your mind, what would happen?
I don't like the fact that the residents won't have as big of a voice as we have now. We can go and sit in front of council, and you've seen it, the cement batching. 30 people show up, they all voice their opinion, it's local, it's centralized, it's on a specific topic, and then there's a vote. We're not going to have that in Tallahassee. We're every September, October, or earlier, we just have to go to Tallahassee and kind of with our hands out and go, please, can we have more? Here's our projects. I just think there's a big disconnect. We are losing a lot of the home rule.
Yeah.
There have been abuses, and that's why they kind of did it, but I do think we've gone too far. And it's, history has shown there's a problem, we overcorrect, then we end up coming back towards the middle. And I think that's what we have to wait and go through. I just don't know how long we could wait if we decide to get rid of property taxes. It's just, we have no control. We're going to be reliant on, I would suppose, a whole new department to distribute monies to the municipalities. And it's one of those things where we'd have to wait and see what the full details are. It's kind of very vague on what their plan actually is. Obviously, our sales tax is going to have to go up.
Way up.
Way up. I mean, I've heard estimates of 15 to 20% minimum to start offsetting. And again, who collects it, who distributes it, who's going to be in charge of it.
And it'll have to increase every year.
Exactly.
As we know, Palm Coast's budget, as it stands right now. Now, there is an opposite view on that from a lot of people that talk about forced frugalness. Forcing a city, which I believe needs to happen. You and I have sat in many budget conversations and see the magic of increasing the departments when they disclose they're going to have less money. And I can't get my mind around it. And a lot of people I've talked to have said, well, it will force the cities to be more conservative. Yeah, but the conservative that would happen with 90% loss of your income is something I don't think many people are prepared for.
Yeah, I just don't, again, the details aren't put out as far as very clear on what would actually happen. I do believe it would be a major struggle for all the municipalities. Again, it comes back to, if it is local, come to the meeting, show up, put your voice in there. Budget season's over. How many people were there in many of the meetings for any of it? I mean,
More than you and I?
yeah,
Not
you know,
many.
if there was a handful of people, it was great. But the fact is that we control it. We can sit there and say, hey, hey, why did we approve a $304,000 contract to tie in the sheriff's department cameras with the city of Palm Coast, just to find out that someone finally asked city staff and they said, oh yeah, we can do that. And we end up saving about $300,000 to do it.
Right, because someone asked about it.
And that's where it comes down to. We have to ask those questions. We can see our budgets. I mean, I've done this years ago. I've sat there with the previous council and said, hey guys, you've got these departments. Why aren't you getting 5 years of budget? And seeing what was their budget? What did they spend? How much is left over? And I saw that there was a few departments that never spent over 80% of their budget, but yet their budget kept increasing every year. That's a simple fix. Like, get the math. It's numbers. I mean, the city's not going to, it's the numbers come out. This is what we budgeted. This is what we spent. This is what was left over. Great. So why is this department asking for another 15% or another 10% if they only spent 80? They've got a built-in buffer already. That alone will only be controlled here. Somebody in Tallahassee is not going to sit there and look at it and go, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Because unfortunately, our city council hasn't asked for it. At least not publicly. They haven't said, hey, I've been looking at the budgets for the last 5 years, and I actually presented to several of them and said, here, you guys talking about reducing taxes and reducing the budget. Here, like, I actually printed it out, gave it to them and said, look, there's the departments one by one, and you can kind of see but why did they get increases every year? Oh, I don't know. Never came up though.
Right. And I know that for me, an eye-opening experiences was going through the academy, the Palm Coast Academy, which I know you're going.
I'm currently enrolled in, yes.
Now, and I highly recommend everybody taking a look at it, because I found from my business mindset that we have too many departments that are doing overlapping elements with each other and then charging back and forth out of survivability of, well, the utilities department's interaction with the stormwater department and sharing the same product, and yet when a truck breaks down, they've got to swap out each other, and that's lost opportunity. And it goes to what you were saying as far as it's just about asking the questions and being transparent. For me, an aha moment was when I learned they had already agreed to and provided $1 million towards the Y, when at city council, all they did was, well, we'll address it later, vocal conversation, waiting for the county and the school board to see if they were going to offset some of that money. Because the YMCA, which I'm a big fan, I see the value and need to it. And trust me, if they didn't get a dime from the city or county, they would still find a way to build here and provide sources. And yet it was on the budget.
They found the money. They want, again, they find the projects they want, they will find the money for. Everything, all things being equal, they found it. And that's fine. But, we've had the YMCA in the county before. Albeit very minimized, it was centralized. It was in the, basically in the hospital on 100. It came and went. I mean, through the years, there's been different variations of it. If they fully come and they commit, I do believe they want to. If they're given an option, hey, we're going to cover between the counties, the cities, everything, we'll cover 50% of your cost. How committed are they going to be to actually fully stay there?
Right.
And that's why, put some skin in the game.
Plus the land that's
put some
being
skin in the game,
provided.
and and then have some of it in there. They're going to collect their fees. They're going to do everything, and that's fine.
And close down another amenity that they have eventually
Exactly, yes.
in the pool that's
Yes.
existing. And I was actually talking to the director of the Parks and Recs, Brian, and I was asking him what was his plan when the Y gets going, and they have, I think, I'm guessing here, but like 40,000 square feet of inside open space to provide yoga and all of these other things, which the city is now relying on both at the Southern Rec Center and at the community center as a place for seniors to come in. And he said, absolutely, Mark, this is something that I've been trying to inform the city council, that bringing the Y in is really great, but it's going to cut back on some of the other highly used rooms and facilities that we offer long term. I haven't even thought about that.
We have, and I've been made more aware of it even recently. I've always interacted with staff just from my workings with them. I've dealt with all the departments. There's very smart people on staff. I mean, we have people with master's degrees, work on their PhDs, that they were hired because they were supposed to be knowledgeable. And I do find it all too often that council just kind of says, yeah, but. And I think that if we're hiring and we're paying good money for these knowledge, because it is knowledge. At the end of the day, it's a person but it's the knowledge we're really paying for. Why aren't we listening to them more? Ask them a question as opposed to just dismissing them. And I do find that that does cause some contention, if you will, on staff. And you've seen it. We've had exodus of high-end people.
Yeah, Ray Tyner just left.
Ray Tyner, Jason DiLorenzo left.
And by the way, neither were replaced.
No.
So to me, in a business model, if you lose some 20-year experienced people at the top end and you don't replace them, you have to ask yourself, what was the value in the first place?
Yes, that is definitely a question. But we also finally got a director of community development that we were empty for almost 2 years. We got a utility director for almost a year and a half, 2 years. We just can't operate with having those directors, those key positions. And so we lost 2, we gained 2. At the end of the day, maybe it'll be a wash and they basically replace each other. But again, was it too top heavy to begin with is a question to be looked at.
Well, and I think, that risk assessment for $50,000 to come out and say the number one risk is the political nature of things.
Yes.
And I mean, how do you define that, and it really what they were saying was the political makeup up in Tallahassee is the highest risk that we have here in Palm Coast. But I do also think, and God bless her, Lauren is doing the best she can in the positions she's had, and she's been there far too long before we've hired someone. And I think that goes to the weakness of reaction by the city council from staff, because you need to have, and based on, and we're going to get into this charter conversation in a minute, I feel, my opinion, is that when you have the government that Palm Coast is designed to have, the city business account, Lauren's position needs to have a highly educated, strong-willed person to bring the talent conversations from the staff to the city council to say, this is the FYG of whatever it is you want, and it's been weak. And it's not her fault. She's doing a great job, but there's been, as you pointed out, a lot of things presented to the city council that the staffing had made directions, that the building group has made directions, and they just went some other way with it. So I did bring up and talk about the charter, which is something going on as a potential city councilman that may have to rely on whatever gets voted at the same time you get elected. What are your thoughts on that process?
It's due. I mean, there's a reason why we have it required to be looked at every 10 years minimum. It's our constitution, if you will. It was always made to be adjusted, not just whimsically, but based on fact and necessity. Initially, I was very scared when I heard a rewrite. I'm hoping that has tamed down quite a bit, but do we need amendments to it? Yes. Have there been some gray areas that have been come up recently? Yes. And I think that all should be addressed. Complete rewrite? No. That is not the reason why I voted to become a city. Because I actually voted to become a city way back when in, I guess it was 98, 99.
Yeah.
We became a city in December 31st, 99. So that charter was one of the basis of how it was going to function. To completely change it, I think, would be detrimental to, it would just throw chaos into the system. But we do need to amend it. We do need to have people look at it independently. And at the end of the day, though, city council is actually the one that's going to vote on yes or no, on what part they do like the change and what they don't. But again, our voices at the meetings for the review, at the workshops, at the final readings of the charter, be informed, show up, speak your piece. Doesn't mean it's going to be correct, doesn't mean it's going to be accepted, but at the end of the day, if it's not heard, did it exist?
Right.
And that's where I think, I think we agree that being there, you don't have to speak on every topic, but do speak on the ones that hit home to you because they mean something. For you to actually get up there and speak for 3 minutes means it should be important to you. And I do believe that more people should exercise that right.
Right. And the city is, and has just had an open town hall of the Southern Rec Center. It was not well attended, but the conversations were very valuable, I think. And I'm at this point very pleased in the contractor, Dr. Georgette, I can't remember her name, but she is very good at helping and assisting us to focus on this. And as you've said, and I will continue to say, it is your city.
Yes.
These things that are happening will eventually touch you, and you need to have a voice, and you need to show up to these town halls, if not just understand. I've talked to somebody the other day, didn't even know what a charter was. And I made a bunch of copies of it and was handing it out to some of the groups. It's only like 15 pages. Yep. It's not a lot. And it is, there's things like you could add more city council members.
Correct. You
could change the form of government we have. You could change the election process. There's pretty much everything in there that makes Palm Coast, Palm Coast. But ultimately, after this whole process, any changes that make through the whole thing are going to show up on the ballot for the citizens have to approve it in November when it gets voted as the final process.
After city council.
Oh yeah, after they put
shaves
their
it and they put their version of it
exactly.
in there. Yes. So yes.
But eventually it falls back to you, yes. The citizens. So as a potential candidate moving forward with the city and things that are going on, and there's a lot going on with it. And you had pointed to what I like to call, and I had Ray Stevens in here, and he was talking about the branding of Palm Coast and the anxiety and the struggles of where are we going to be in 5 years, or where do we want to be in 10 years, and things have come up about, somebody asked about mass transit. Yep. Somebody asked about the infrastructure, and we know that's a struggle with the waterworks and those kind of things. Where do you see us in 10 years?
I think if we continue I know a lot of people don't like hearing this, but the water treatment issues and the wastewater treatment plants, the bond was very important. It was delayed. It should have been done in smaller increments over time, right. But we didn't have a director for 2 years. Who's going to step up from staff and go, oh no, I'm going to be that one person that pushes and sounds the alarm to council? And unfortunately, poor Carl Code had to do it because he was like, you're the guy and you have to present this because the alarms went off in Tallahassee. The DEP had triggered, we had triggered right. some alarms. So, but I don't, and then they're kind of surprised. They're like, wow, we didn't know. But yet in October, they said, no, we're not going to raise the rates. They've done it previous years. October it was no rates. 3-4 months later, it's mass chaos. It's a mad emergency. Let's stop construction and solve the problem. At the end of the day, people, I've talked to several people, they've asked me about it, and it has been a hot button. It has been a topic that people have, how should I put this, gotten their information from social media, who have not fully took some time to even look into it. But when I sit there and I told them, I said, well, you do understand that $200 million of it has nothing to do with growth.
No, it's bringing it up to compliance
It's literally,
for
it's
today.
just, it's repairing, it's replacing, it's help solving intrusion and infiltration that we have a major issue with. That has nothing to do with growth. That's just stuff that hasn't happened.
Right. So,
like
and to
it's supposed
clarify,
to.
the infiltration that
Yeah.
Tony's talking about is for years, the department, wastewater department, had been reporting to city council
Yes.
that our manhole covers, and my wife didn't even know this. We're walking around and we walk over a manhole cover, and we're from the Northwest, and I said, what do you think's under that manhole? She goes, well, isn't that for fresh water? For drainage? Because that's pretty normal in a lot of places. I said, no, that's where your sewer is. And she was amazed. And they've been reporting forever that infrastructure was allowing fresh water during, wait for it, rainwater
Rain
to
events.
drain down into the manhole covers. And if you have a pet tank, which are those larger green covers throughout a lot of the city, which are poorly fitted, we're allowing intrusion of fresh water into our already taxed sewer system. And that's why we all got the call after Milton.
Yes.
When water overloaded our system. We didn't have an additional tank, which now we do, to capture that extra water. But these were existing conditions that
For years.
city councils past were fully aware of and chose not to fix the money. I challenge you, if you have no time, go back 5 years and look at Ed Danko and Alpha, and even before that, when Carl Cody and others reported to the city that we needed to fix this, and it was like 30, then 60 million.
Yeah.
And we could have jumped on it, but they chose to be conservative and not raise even the water rates. And now we're getting, what, 8% bump every October for like the next few
Well, I think,
years?
yeah, we got the one in April. We're
We
getting
have
the one in
one this month?
October. Yes, we're getting the one this, and then I believe one other one. And then we'll probably get then it should go, I think it's 3, and then we'll go to our quote unquote normal increases. But let's keep in mind too, so I've been around long, I don't know if you remember, every once in a while you get a notice on your door. There's smoke testing. They were they were literally pumping smoke in to see where the water was coming in from, because if smoke came out somewhere, water was getting in. Everyone has a clean out in their yard.
Yeah, those white cap covers.
Most people forget about it because they got ran over by the lawnmower, got the top chopped off, and believe it or not, I've heard from people in the water department, a lot of our water is actually coming in from that little 4-inch inlet, and there's water's just pouring straight in. I haven't seen a smoke test in years.
No, I have not.
So again, we're behind the curve. Could we have done better? Yes. Should we have done better? Yes. That's the past. What are we going to do now? We have to do better now.
Right.
And that's where I believe the pain is going to come from. No one likes it, but at the end of the day, if nothing happens, then we're no better off than we were 5 years ago, and we're just going to be twice as bad or 3 times worse 5 years from now. So.
Yeah, and I think the point is the tooth finally needed to be pulled.
Correct.
It was rotten, and it cost all of us a lot of money to get it fixed. But as a candidate and as someone who's wanting to get on the board and be a part of those decisions, how well do you think the board responds to the citizen committees that are out there, like the building and those other ones, which are voluntary, in which any of us could join on, and then provide information to the city council. Because I'm hearing crickets that.
I do believe that we do have some boards that they'll listen to more. The planning board, although I think years past was just kind of a rubber stamp. It's very rare that anything didn't pass or wasn't unanimous one way or the other. We are starting to see more of a independent voice from those members, so we're getting kind of almost not. You're seeing less unanimous decisions as far as that goes. I think they do kind of lean on that information. I sit on the Residential Drainage Advisory Committee. They literally threw us out there, and we've only reported twice to the city. We've worked with staff, we've had conversations with them, we've informed a lot of people that came in that had the issues. The staff council doesn't really interact with us as far as that goes. They had a problem. Most of it was actually solved by staff by making changes in the code and in the way they were allowed to do things, and builders were allowed to do things right away. Then we started doing what we could. I guess it kind of determines how much how big of an issue was it. Our board was literally made because of the issues we had with water, flooding.
Yeah. House getting flooded.
Correct.
Yeah.
Only 29.
I know.
29, and again, that's 29. I would not want to be one of the 29.
Hold on. Right. So, one of the things, did that come out of your board, the discussion about leveling house elevations in neighborhoods where a builder would come in, and bring in a lot of extra dirt, raise the base of the home higher, so that, and anybody that's wanting to build, if I wanted to buy a home, I would want it to be out of any kind of flood and effect. Did that come out of that conversation with you guys?
I would love to say yes, but no. It was actually done before we actually had our first meeting.
Okay.
Staff saw it, addressed it, made the recommendations, presented it to stakeholders. Being part of the home builders, I was one of those stakeholders, and that made sense. Like, it perfectly made, no problem, go ahead.
Right. But there wasn't any guideline prior to that.
There was very much. There was always a minimum height the minimum you could do. There was never a maximum. Some of that arose from a previous building official who decided to interpret the code a rather unique way, where you couldn't get a CO for almost 2 months because it was just a quick change.
Right.
And then some people just said, I don't want to deal with that again, so they just automatically started building what I call the moats around the house, with the big high island house and everything else around it. It's come down a lot. Now they've controlled how high you can go. They are getting stricter on showing your water flow and having to determine it. Actually, we're getting to the point where we pay more now to have it certified as a final survey that says we are retaining all of our water on our property. The house can still be higher than you.
Yeah, but as long as they have some way of controlling,
and they can
French
control the
drain,
water. Yes.
whatever those
exactly.
those steps
and I think
are.
that's what. So, again, our committee came in after all that was already implemented.
Right. What do you think of two-story homes?
If you like them, why not? You have property rights.
So your feeling is, and I only bring this up because it's been a conversation.
I won't live in one. I just don't like stairs.
For a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons. I've been a flatlander for quite a few years now.
Well, and I only bring this up because this was brought up in front of the council, and as a potential candidate, there is an effort, though small at this point, to at least bring up that conversation of the expectation of privacy locally. You have a pool, you're there, and all of a sudden your next door neighbor builds a two-story, and while you're out at your pool, you're watching all the kids, and worst case scenario.
Right.
And I don't think that's even something that we could address or minimize, could we?
You can't. Again, they have the right to build a two-story. As it meets all the guidelines, they can build it. Some people just need 2 stories. I mean, you've got families with 4 and 5 kids that say, hey, we want to live on the bottom and sleep upstairs. Good for you. You can't stop people from doing it. I mean, at the end of the day, you had the right to put your pool in. They have the right to put their 2-story up.
So then what I hear you saying is that your view on land use, ownership is the intent to realize you're the property owner, and by being the owner of property, you have some basic rights, like we just went through the drama with
Correct.
the house colors and how that went back and forth and how it was developed. And you've been here since the beginning, and there was this perception of Palm Coast as an entirety of trying to be an HOA city. With that, they put in guidelines, which they'd gotten from other HOAs, about restricting your home colors,
Yes.
restricting vehicles being parked in your yard, and all of those things, which ebb and flow based on the views. Is that a property rights conversation?
You have to remember, Palm Coast from day one has been a deed restricted community, not an HOA,
Right.
not this. It has always been a deed. There were certain things that you were never going to be allowed to do, and there were certain things you could do. That's what made Palm Coast what it is. I do think people tend to forget that.
Well, the people moving in now, don't mean to interrupt you,
Yes.
they're not even informed of that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the realtor informed you, you got a pamphlet or a thing, and it attracted. It was a marketing tool. Have seen old advertisements
Yep.
going through Citizens Academy, learning the history of, that's what they were marketing up in the Northeast, was come to Palm Coast and you will have a perfect environment in which it's protected, your house won't be your next door neighbor's not pink, and all of that things.
They're not going to have trash just sitting all over the yard, and
Guy next
the
door
engine block.
rebuilding,
Yeah, exactly.
rebuilding his car,
and I do
and
think
all
people
of
did
that.
forget that. But people say, oh, as a real estate broker, people ask, oh, is that an HOA or I'm like, it's not, but we do have restrictions. It's not a free for all,
Right.
And I don't think you would want it either. But so yes, we do have we are restricted somewhat. The city has had its bouts, if you will, with different options, colors. What is a work truck? What is not a work truck? What can you put on your work truck?
Still an ongoing issue.
Still an ongoing
How
issue.
much money have we?
And I think that's just, as times change, I do think it'll come up often, and it's going to be that question of, well, NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Oh, you mean like chickens in your backyard?
Yes, chickens in the backyard, and it's great as long as, I don't care what you do over there.
Right.
I just think we have to understand, at the end of the day, your neighbor made an investment. You made an investment. Your other neighbor, your back neighbors, why not just talk to each other?
Well, that's what, John, yeah.
I mean,
You and I have had this great,
Yes.
the other side of compliance
Yes.
of these HOA type rules was always based, even before some things got changed, of the hope that you would talk to your neighbor before it became an issue. And then when our governor went through and made it from anonymous complaint to having to actually have your name recorded to a complaint, even further brought conversations to compliance. I love my neighbor next door. He's a great plumber, and I shared this with the city. And so I don't care if he's parking his car there, because at 3 o'clock in the morning last week, my toilet was overflowing, and I called him, and he fixed it.
yeah.
And then the people on the other side hate it, so he's getting tagged for
Yes.
parking there. And the challenges of supporting the rule based on local neighbor reactions, I think is a challenge, because it doesn't get fairly supported. But I also feel, long term, we talk 10 years out, that the design or the efforts of Palm Coast wanting to become and grow from a bedroom community with a deed restricted HOA view to something different has some incredible growing pains that we have to go through, and we're not going to be able to keep all of it as when we reach the 150 mark and we bring in some decent, good hiring businesses. A lot of these things are going to change, and it's going to impact those citizens that retired here and didn't want to see Palm Coast Parkway become parking lot.
And I agree 100%. But it is going to be that issue. Don't forget that Palm Coast Parkway, we already have the land set aside to make it wider.
Exactly.
It's always been designed. I came here, Palm Coast Parkway and Old Kings Road, 4-way stop sign. 1 lane only in each direction.
Right.
That's a major intersection now. ITT had that plan to open and open and open. All the land has been set aside. It's already there. It's just a matter of we need to fill it in. And it's been, we talked about it, it has been neglected. Hurt a little bit today is better than hurting what seems like a lot tomorrow.
Right.
And that's the fact that we just have to kind of understand we're only halfway to capacity. If you want, and that's not even including the dreaded westward expansion, as people refer to it.
The loop. Yeah.
You know, that is literally Palm Coast as you know it today. We're only halfway there. There's still 7,000 to 9,000 lots, depending on who you ask, of original plotted lots.
Do you think there's enough citizens that have or want to have a voice to slow the growth down and to fight to keep? I don't think they can stop it. I think it's inevitable that it's going to change in a slower, more planned group, as the retired group that came in back in the 90s and the early, that retired here, and if they have more than 10 cars on a left or right turn lane, it's too crowded.
Correct.
They don't understand that this is the growing pains. So,
And for the record, sometimes I'm that person.
oh no, why?
At 52, because my children go, yes, Dad, we know. I'm like, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you're like, it has to do with more of the attitude I had that day, not necessarily that I had to wait for 4 cars to pass in
Right.
front of me.
And that's where the money to meet the needs now to put in the extra turn lane.
Yes.
If I hear one more time talking about everything on 100
Yes.
and Seminole Woods and all of that, when it was state money, because SR, State Road
Road.
100, or even one of these days it's going to be on US 1
Yeah.
as we dodge the bullet on that batch going in just north of the Palm Coast Parkway intersection with 1. But they don't seem willing to deal with the problem 2 years from now. They just wait till it's 2 years from now. And I think that's where we're at now.
Yeah, I think the can has been kicked far enough where it's fallen apart. There's no more can to kick. It's time to make the decisions. Probably detrimental to my campaign. I joke around with my wife. I go, when I win, it's probably going to be for 1 term. And she kind of laughs. She goes, yeah, because you're going to say the things that people don't want to hear but need to.
Right. And I think that's important.
And I think
to
that
be
has to be
upfront.
that person.
Yeah,
But if we don't
absolutely.
do it, again, I have a son. My oldest son is a senior in high school. What's going to bring him back home? We're very family oriented. I mean, my in-laws, my parents, my sister, my nephew, all my kids, my parents, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law. We have a big family that all live in Flagler County. When we get together, we're 20-something. I guess we're actually getting close to 30 because people are adding.
Well, it's inevitable.
They keep adding and getting married. But at the end of the day, what's going to bring back this generation that's now in high schools? What's going to call them back home? Or am I going to now go back to 14 at the home for a family dinner, or 10? And I think that's where we have to kind of make that decision of, it hurts today, but at the end of the 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it will be easier.
Right.
People will forget the hardship that was here. And those who just can't stand it and those who will just complain are going to do it whether it happens or not.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a council person who, the seat you're running, and I was asking them about their accomplishments and what they thought looking back in the one term. And they said, you know what, we did the tough work and we approved the 500 or who knows how much it's going to be bond to finally get the water fixed.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, that was painful. Water rates are going up, but it had to be done. And that kind of goes to what you're talking about. And it is important as a voter, as someone that lives in the city, you have to understand. And if you show up at the meetings and you listen, even if it's online on YouTube, and you pay attention, this is hard work. And this is not friendly work when you restrict or you spend more money or you move something, but hopefully it's for the betterment of the future, but it doesn't feel like that today.
It doesn't.
And people, voters have a tendency to go, what about me now?
And it is. And I think that people also get discouraged. And I don't know how to solve the problem, but when there's a topic enough for you to want to come and talk to city council, and you only get 3 minutes. You don't get answers. You can just make your statements, ask your questions. They may or may not get answered. I think that may discourage some people. I just don't know if there's a better way. If not, we'd have to have like literally meetings Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, to kind of keep up to date. But we just can't do that. It just won't function that way. But don't be discouraged. Show up. Say your 3 minutes. Be happy you have those 3 minutes and make a point.
Well,
That's
you don't
a goal
even,
that we have.
and I tell people, you don't have to get up. You don't have to speak, but you need to sit there and watch and listen, because there is nothing more informational to watch the dynamics of how our city council, and I've been going for years, and I learned from you that you put in a FOIL request, they automatically send you the packets prior to each of the meetings so that you can follow along and understand. I was recently talking to somebody very involved and interested in the electric bike ordinance and trying to get that. And he could not find the draft ordinance anywhere. And I asked staff, and they said, well, just put in a FOIL request and whatever packet, which, if you don't know, the city council is sitting up there working through a staff packet that has all the things that they're talking about, and they get it a few days to a week, and they study it, and they go through it, and they are way more informed than most of us sitting in the room. But he was able to get that because he asked, because it was important. And they are,
It is important.
Staff has said they are trying to do better at making it more available, more transparent as this goes, because every single one of them want you, the public, to know what's going on.
Yes.
I have not seen a single time to me that I saw that they were not trying to be transparent or to let people know what's going on. I haven't experienced that. I know some others feel that there's some issues, but I haven't. But it does take participation.
It takes participation. I mean, the packet for tonight, we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it's 351 pages. It is something that when I win, I will tell staff, no, I want 2 weeks notice. It should be made public. If there's going to be some tweaks and changes, that's fine. But we don't need to have this. This year has seemed to be kind of like the urgency. Everything has to be done now. It has to be done now. It has to be done now. And I think that's what's caused a lot of strife, if you will, and complaining of, well, I didn't know, and it wasn't. The information was there. You had to actively go seek it out.
Exactly. And that it's effort. It takes.
It does take
real effort.
But you're mentioning how much information you get. August 12th of this year, go back. If you don't watch a single video on a city council, August 12th one, I recommend that one, was super informative.
It was.
It was a phenomenal,
amazing.
like, to the point I will criticize, unfortunately, more than I will congratulate. But that one was, I congratulated like every single one of them. I said, that is what you guys should do at least once a year, if not more often. Super informative from everything from quasi-judicial to the water to what can and can't be done, how these developments are actually in the pipeline, how many years they're in there. Super informative, and I would be a good start for everyone to start with. That'd be my recommendation.
Absolutely. And as I tell people, if you have a concern, if you have a question, you can get those answers, but you're going to have to go looking for it. And I will admit, they just did approve the new software package, which should meet the ADA issues, because
Yes.
I was begging for this information for years and was told that they were not ADA, Americans Disability Act, to present this stuff so that it would be available to the public. Okay, but I still wanted to get it, and I've had to fill out FOIA requests, Freedom for Information, which you can go right down to City Hall and ask for the packet that
Correct.
you get if you want to. But, getting back to things on the table, things of discussion, I wanted to find, and I asked this to the others, what do you think about interjecting money into maintenance of the saltwater canals?
I believe it's necessary. And I'll tell you, it's not just because, when it came up, I guess, almost probably 2 years ago now, some of the council said, well, it's not my responsibility to provide a navigable waterway for a few boat owners. It kind of is, because you're taxing them as a navigable waterway. So that's number one. But a lot of people don't understand our stormwater ends up in our canals and from the fresh water, which will eventually turn in, and they end up in the saltwater canals, whether it's through the north going through Pellissier Creek, south going through Graham Swamp. It all discharges into the canal system, intercoastal and everything else. When one of the presentations was done, they gave an estimate of half of the canals were probably 3 feet or less in depth. They gave this quick, how many cubic feet of dirt that is. Hey, Google, how many gallons of water in a cubic foot? We're talking millions and millions of gallons of water capacity now added to our system.
Right.
The biggest problem we have is we're having king tides now. If you go through the C section, you'll see the top of the seawalls are getting covered. We could add millions of gallons of capacity. That seawater is actually deteriorating all of our seawalls. It's getting in, there's rebar inside, it's starting to get salt, it's starting to rust, it splays, as they say, fractures out. But what you don't see is, a perfect example I see, it, 'cause it's by my house.
Now, I didn't ask. Are you on the canal?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
no,
good.
No.
That'd be good. No, that's good to say.
Yes.
I'm not on the canal,
I'm
but
sorry,
you feel
yes.
it. Oh no,
District 2 is mostly is C section, F section. It's
Exactly.
pretty much all of our saltwater canals,
right.
essentially.
And you've got to hear from the people in your district. That goes to our charter and understanding.
But I made this decision when it came up already before I even decided to run. Anytime there's a weir where Pellissier Creek comes down, Frontier, goes next to my property, runs behind the Portuguese American Cultural Center, and comes out what used to be the Yacht Club. I can't remember what it's now. I always forget that. It's always been the Yacht Club. That's because for being here too long.
No.
And it's right across from the park. Well, you see water rushing out when the saltwater canal is low. You can see it. I mean, it gets to probably 10, 12 feet wide, and it's just dumping water. Well, when that canal raises above that weir, now there's pushback on that fresh water.
Right.
We're not discharging, getting rid of that water. So what happens? It builds up all the way down the line.
And what's a weir?
It's basically where you get to a certain level, the water now runs over into the next section. A lot of our freshwater canals are based on these. Okay, we're acceptable at this level. Anything above that will discharge to the next lower one, which will fill up and discharge, which will lead to our canals.
But it's also controllable.
Well, not all
Some
of them. Some of them are.
A lot of them
Yes.
are controllable where they
Correct.
can raise and lower.
Yes.
Like if we had a hurricane that
Correct.
we're projected to be here in a week, the city can lower
Yes.
the canals, the freshwater side canals, to prepare for the collection of that water.
So
not everybody's
Yeah, I
just-
know, and I apologize.
No, it's
the
fine.
salt water, like I said. So that for me is the main reason to dredge and maintain our saltwater canals. We will extend the life of our seawalls, which most of them are privately owned by every lot owner. We will reduce erosion for those lots that haven't been built yet. They're filling up and they're getting pulled back out. And we will help get rid of the fresh water because we'll have less static pressure pushing back on our discharge.
That presentation that the contracted group did, really, there was an aha moment for me because I was listening to canal owners talking about access around their docks and they couldn't get their boats in. And the city council demonstrated and said, but hey, you're a owner on the canal. You are property rights owner. You are responsible for the quay wall, the break, which is not cheap, and also 20 feet out to the canal.
Not all, some of them, yeah.
But most of them,
Yes.
when you got your deed, it showed you were
Correct.
responsible. And so...
Which is where you can put your boat. That's why you have
exactly.
those 20 feet.
And so the city council was saying, yeah, we've got no problem. We're going to come in and dredge, but it's not going to help you and the sediment around your dock, which most of them have to pay to bring in a small pumping system to move the sediment. But it was about the understanding what is the real problem, and what you're saying, and I think it's true, is the need to maintain the center or the depth of the canal for everybody's benefit is not the same as the homeowner who can't get his boat on his dock
Correct.
10 feet off the deck and it's full of silt. Now, if we dredge out the center, and some of those canals are fairly small, and the contractor was saying, we're only talking about a 6 to 8 foot channel, which they were talking about what the depth was going to be, may pull some of the silt off.
And it will.
And it was just information is what I'm trying to say,
It is.
of understanding what the issue is.
I do think that, we have systems, and a lot of the systems that people don't understand, like that saltwater canal is directly tied to your swale. People are like, what are you talking about? At the end of the day, that saltwater canal is a major determination of how much water we end up having in our swales.
Right. And
Milton came, don't forget, Milton came. So everybody says Milton, and we talked about it before with the don't flush and this and that. The week before, we had a major rain event.
major rain, inches of rain.
Crazy inches. The city had already lowered all the manual weirs they could down.
Right.
When Milton came, they basically said, we're at the bottom, and if we're not at the bottom, drop it already as soon as we realize what's going to happen. So we were behind the curve to begin with a big rainmaker, because everything ends up in those freshwater. Then we had the tides come in, the king tide, the push of the water. Water just would not escape fast enough. But as soon as the tide dropped, you literally saw water just moving across roads and disappearing within like 12 hours, the vast majority of it.
Right. And the main impact, long-term impact, was the height of the water in the roadways, flooded our sewer system, which impacted the reporting because,
Correct.
and what triggered those phone calls and text messages.
And the DEP.
Which it was amazing. Nobody cared until they were told, you can't take a shower, you can't flush. You can't let it get to that point. And you need to understand, and be involved, which we have seen, and you even touched on this with the batch plan. Over and over again, I've seen citizens participate. Citizens come in and be in front of the council, write emails, have conversations. It's of value. I say it all the time. You're going to get heard. You're going to be at least get listened to, and you'll get a chance to share. So, Tony, tell us what your view is for the upcoming election. Tell us briefly, take this opportunity for the first time maybe to share with the people of Palm Coast what are you all about, what are you hoping for, and what do you think you can bring to City Council?
I'm looking to bring knowledge. I've got now I look back, it's even more now. I'm actually close to 34 years of being an adult here. And the fact is, a lot of history has happened, and I kind of will tell people, I'm like, yeah, but this happened then. Like, what? We don't understand. It's not that I'm an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I just happen to remember a lot of stuff. At the end of the day, we have to move forward. Actually, our new director of community development said it perfectly, and I was shocked when he said it was, if we're not growing, we're dying. That's the two stages of a city. There is no in-between. There's no stagnant, excuse me. Growth will come. It's scheduled to come. It's going to happen. We can control it. The market will control it.
Right.
And, we say there's growth now, 2,000 permits, if you will, residential. I was here in early 2000s when it was 3,000 or 3,500. So we've had growth. It's made Palm Coast what we are today. We can limit it. We can slow it down. But the market's going to drive more than anything else. We can't infringe on people's property rights. Parcels were bought. They were understood that they were allowed. I'm totally against, if you were allowed to have 4 units per acre, I'm totally against giving you 5, 6, or 8 units per acre. That's not what you bought the parcel for. It made sense to you to buy that parcel knowing that was your option, so it should make sense to you to do it now. I'd have to have a hard-pressed reason even to agree or even sit down and talk about increasing that. But at the end of the day, we're all neighbors. Talk to your neighbor. Get to know your neighbor. I think our society in general has just given up on it almost. Say hi. Say, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? Hey, I notice your pipe is kind of covered in your swale. Do you need help digging it out a little bit so that water can flow better? That's going to solve the majority of our problems, the real problems we have to deal with day to day. And I think if we can get to that, have conversations, be accountable and transparent, then I think the residents of Palm Coast are going to understand that I might not like it, but I have to understand why it's happening. And that's what I hope to see in the next 5 years.
Outstanding. Well, Tony, thanks for throwing your hat in the ring.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I think that you've got some great ideas. You and I have sat in many councils together,
Yeah.
Sometimes alone.
Being called out by name.
Oh, yeah, you've been there too long when they know who you are. But guys, the takeaway, the most important thing, if you're watching this video or any of mine, you hear me say it all the time. It is your city. Mm-hmm. It is your ability to participate and share. Are things going to change the way you want to? No. But you can be heard. You can have a say. You're not sitting there alone. And we have candidates that are running, that are listening and want what's best for the overall city. And with that, I really appreciate you guys. Tony, thank you so much for coming. I hope to have you back. And then you started early. Yep. You're like a year out. Yep. So that's amazing, but that's a good thing.
It's a learning process. First time I'm running, so I understand there's a lot more I have to learn of the process first. So I figured I'd get in early.
No, I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's great. And getting people to step up and take the time from a busy, you have family, you've got a job, to step forward and to volunteer is always applauded. And I really,
Thank you.
So guys, pay attention, look at all the meetings that are coming up, and please come to some of those charter reviews,
Yes.
if not just to understand the mechanisms of the city and understand how things happen, because it is your city. So with that, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Remember, like and subscribe. We want to keep growing this and bring information, and leave a comment. If you have a question, you have a concern, I always answer them. So guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank